You know, this isn't going to be the only comeback story of Dragon Link taking a nice, interesting top cut. Don't be like the 30% of you that are not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more Osk content. So we have our breakdown here for the Poland regional here. Representing the highest represented seed of events here was actually none other than Kashtira. I'm actually kind of happy to report on that Kashtira actually was the more dominant force for this event. Now, honestly, you shouldn't be surprised when I say this at this point that, you know, considering the fact that Kashtira has, I mean, maintained its foothold there, there's still people out here that are like, no, Kashtira is not the best deck, but you look at all the regional data being presented throughout the week here, it was by far one of the best decks in contention for these metagames. And so we also had your one-ups here. So we had one Despia deck in Top Cut. Now, I'm not particularly sure what the variation of this is. It could be Dragoon, Dragoonless. I think most of the variants that have played Dragoon have been the most successful as of late. We also had one Sprite deck as well for the Top Cut. Sprite has got many variations going for it right now. I mean, you have the Evil Twin variant, you've got the more pure variant with like the Adventure package backing it. You have Runic. It's a tale of which engine is going to be most successful for you today. We also have one Dragon Link deck that made its way into Top Cut, which was actually the thing that made me super excited for this event. You know, just the fact that Dragon Link is kind of waking back up here and showcasing some of the power that you've been kind of missing out on out here in the format is incredibly nice. We also had one Trap Tricks deck out here as well, and a Sword Soul as well. So, I mean, your overall Top Cut is pretty strong and pretty diverse. The more options and things that you can see here across the board, you know, being present in these events is actually incredible at the end of the day. So I like what we're seeing here. Let's pass on over to those deck lists. All right, so winning your event, tale is as old as time this format, it seems, is going to be Cash Money Dollar Bills. The deck. Now, this build is citing the evenly matches. We've seen a very huge shift in evenlies in this format, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing out here, that more and more players are trying out differences of opinions, and I think that it's going to come down to, do you want to main them or side them, what's going to be the best result. We're also playing double Rise Heart. If you've noticed, 3 Rise Heart has just pretty much not been the go-to for quite some time. We're playing the 1 Scareclaw Kashtira, and then of course the 1 Ogre with the 1 Preparation. That feels very, very normal now. And of course we have some Denkos, and we actually are seeing some Dimension Shifter here. This is another one of the few lists that I've seen that's actually taking advantage of Dimension Shifter here. And instead of playing Goliath, we're actually opting for double Donner here. It's also not something that we've seen a lot of either, but once you kind of get into like the nitty-gritty of card choices, makes sense. Next up here is our Despia deck. Hey, it's Dark Magician. So we are playing the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon package in this deck. Like I said, I mean, a majority of these builds definitely are relying on this. Now, this build is actually kind of interesting because we're playing a pretty heavy Bysteel package. We are actually relying on triple Druis Worm here and double Magna Hut to actually kind of get the job done for what you want to see out here. And I perfectly understand your ratios and things that you're going to want to focus on here. So good stuff for the Bysteels actually sticking around. I mean, obviously, you know, you're focusing on Nubelions, but we didn't even... No Saronir in here? That's actually kind of interesting because the Saronir dump is one of the most important parts of this deck, I feel like. And if we're opting to not even include that at this stage, you kind of got to wonder if it was really needed in the... Yeah, you probably should be playing Saronir. But interesting enough, this list didn't need it. So that's another successful story without Saronir. All right. Next up is Sprite Evil Twin. Okay, so we're on triple Illa. Your 2 copies of the Kissy Sakil, and then we have 1 copy of the Frost. We're not even playing the other one. You're just... So the main reason why you play this package is because Kissy Sakil and Lola have their own forms of interruption and draw power in and of themselves, and it actually is pretty cool. You feel like an absolute champ when you get the chance to pull these off. Also, I mean, you have access to Nightmare Corruptor Ibling here as well. And actually getting the chance to make Troubled Sunny for its actual quick effect is pretty solid. Outside of that, I mean, you're still going to use your Evil Twin package is going to be your backing. I don't know. It depends on player preference. Are you going to feel like the value you're going to get out of the package for this deck is going to feel, to be the most maximized results. It's going to depend on player preference at this point, but everything I think is about what you would expect. Next up here is your Dragon Link. Wow, they managed to fit this all into 40 cards. That's actually pretty good. Double Saronir, your triple Magna, and of course one Durosworm, while still sporting off double copies of Lubellion. So very, very standard stuff here, and then the rest of the deck is just your hollowed out Dragon Core. Do keep in mind that we've seen so many of these lists in terms of variations that I think we've seen 50 card builds, and I think maybe 46 were the last two variations that I remember for this. So it's going to come down to, can I fit in all the tech cards that I want to put in, and will the deck still be optimized? And the fact that, you're sitting here on 40 cards and still having the deck look as good as it is. And you've also got your anti-fun cards here, so you don't get evenly blown out. The fact that Evenly's been rolling around here has definitely been more of a reason to see something like Lancia here kind of return back to the field in the large numbers that it actually is. Next up here we have Cash Money Dollar Bills, the sub deck. Now keep in mind that this is going to be the same list as the first place list here. Both duelists actually carried this through, but other real points to consider here. You've noticed every list plays Pot of Prosperity 3 at this point. Don't try to play this deck without this. As I mentioned in other videos, evenly matched to start to kind of move on into the main deck here. And Dimension Shifter really hasn't been seeing large amounts of play. Like, while these cards do serve their purposes, especially considering the region that this is from, you are probably expecting to see a little bit more Rogue at this point. And to be fair, if you are planning on playing an event where more Rogue is going to be, sitting around, you are going to make a lot more option trees here to kind of decide if this is going to be the optimized call for what you want to see for the event. But overall, everything looks, like I said, pretty standard in terms of your variations. Sword Soul, 43 cards, and we're on the triple Vishuda. We're not playing the Water Tenyi, even though I do like the Water Tenyi for what it is supposed to bring to the table here. You don't really see it sticking around all that much. It is incredibly good, but for this list, they didn't opt for it. I also see that we are playing the double talents as well, and we are focusing on the triple Book of Eclipse for defensive options. And then, of course, you're not going to play this deck without this good card. We are playing one Destrudo in the side deck. I guess that opens up some synchro plays for this deck. Kind of an interesting tech choice, okay. And then one Durosworm, double Magna Hut, all very, very standard, I feel like, at this stage. So, good stuff. I'm happy to see that the power of Tenyi Sword Soul still a monster in the format. Next up here is our Trap Tricks deck. I guess we left the budget factory because we took our talents with us and we brought some parallel Exceeds with us. Hey, this does open up the door to make sure that you have whatever options you need. I see that we are packing in an Asa, which is kind of nice. And we are bringing in some anti-fun for the format. Absolutely amazing. I love the fact that anti-spell fragrance just helps this deck out so much. You're also playing the one Trap Trip Garden and 2 copies of Talents, which is fine. And then everything else for this deck, I think, is very standard. Evenly Match has helped this deck out immensely. I can't think of anything else here that really sets this deck apart. The Godarlas are very, very good. Outside of that, list feels, why am I laughing, you ask? Ratios. I'm just happy to see the Trap Tricks is getting the chance to do well here. And we actually have another Cashier deck. Come on, man. How many of these do we gonna see? We have triple Book of Moon here. We have the Lances for your defensive options. We actually have more Dimension. Man, these guys really do love Dimension Shifter out here. For these ratios, we also have your one Change of Heart here to take control of the opponent's monster. No mind control. And Cosmic Cyclone's been gaining a little bit of popularity as well in terms of your ratios. Outside of that, I'm happy to see that this regional did work out the way it did. And I'm actually happy to see the Dragon Link actually held on out here for, well, some value. So guys, please leave a comment down below how much you guys think. And I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.